time for another Ask the Expert segment. Brenda Hollingsworth from Auger Hollingsworth is here to take your personal injury questions and go through some scenarios she has seen in her work as a partner at Auger Hollingsworth as well. So the contact information is on your screen. If you have a question for Brenda, you can phone in 613-789-6559, extension 2803. You can shoot us an email, ottawa.morning@ctv.ca, or try and send us a message on our social media platforms. Good morning to you, Brenda.
Good morning.
This is always such an impactful segment because a lot of people don't know their rights when they get hurt, if they trip on a sidewalk or whatever the case may be.
Right.
No.
Yeah, that's what we find too. People don't know.
Exactly. And so I know that our viewers really, really enjoy having you here so they know how they can receive some compensation as they recover from these injuries.
Right. Yes. No, that's the point.
We have the scenario for you. Your child's at school and climbs up the play structure at recess. He falls from the top and breaks his wrist. Do you have a case?
Yeah, so this is a scenario we get all the time. Parents call us, our child has fallen from the play structure. And the answer is a really good lawyer answer. It depends.
Right.
Right. It depends
I need more details.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of things. So if it is a properly constructed play structure with proper ground cover and it's age appropriate and the child was using it the way they were supposed to use it and just had an unfortunate fall, you're going to have a hard time proving that someone was negligent.
Right.
But what we find is that when children are injured on play structures, there is usually something that's gone wrong. So often it's the ground cover isn't what it's supposed to be. There are rules that say you have to have certain soft landing for children, so we check that. Sometimes we'll have a play structure that's designed, let's say, for 7 to 11-year-olds, but the kindergartners were given access to it, so that can be a problem. And sometimes we hear that the children were using it sort of in a wild way and there was improper supervision, so that can be another thing that we look at. But it's not every time that a child falls off a play structure and injures themselves that there's going to be a case. So if it happens to you, it's really important to get there and get photos because as soon as an accident happens, there's going to be damage control, and that's the right thing to do, right? You want the schools out there fixing it, but you also want to capture the condition that it was in when the fall happened.
Does the age of a play structure or maintenance of a play structure come into play? Is that a factor as well? Is there shelf life for these play structures?
Well, there are maintenance obligations and inspection obligations, and so when we do these cases, the schools end up producing their maintenance records, and they're supposed to be inspected. There are things that are supposed to happen depending on what the play structure is made out of, and they're supposed to keep records of that. So if they have records, then maybe they've done everything they're supposed to do, and maybe they're not negligent. Often there are no records, or there are inadequate records, or there's been too long a gap. These things do get broken. They can be vandalized or whatever. They have to be closed off if that's the case, and they need to make a record that, we put pylons up and we put caution tape around it. If everybody knew it was closed and they were on it anyway.
Right.
So all of that stuff has to be recorded.
How long does it take to investigate stuff like this? I imagine it can take some time.
Well, the cases definitely take time, but the inspection really has to happen fast. So if you have this happen to you and you call a personal injury law firm, we can send an investigator out, within days, sometimes same day, depending on when you catch us. So it is something you shouldn't sit on, even if you're not sure.
Right.
Get the inspection done and then decide.
Right.
I mean, the inspection might say, you know what, this thing's fine. Maybe, it was just an unfortunate accident. So you need to get it done.